Infinity Countdown Darkhawk number 3, and Infinity Countdown Darkhawk number 4. These books are good. Get ready for it, folks. Alright, so at this time, if you have not watched my previous video on Infinity Countdown Darkhawk 1 and 2, save this video, pause it, go watch that one, and then come back and watch this one, because it'll make a lot more sense that way. I'll even put this little button right here. See that button? Hit that, and it'll take you to the video. Sound good? Alright, for everyone else that didn't leave or hasn't paused it, let's get on this. Now, y'all remember I gave Darkhawk number 1 and number 2 a little bit of grief for having a whole lot of dialogue. Not the case in 3 and 4. They get into some action. Now, you remember when we left, Chris Powell, Darkhawk, just had his chest ripped out by the leader of the real OG Raptors. And he is decimated. He's laying on the floor, and Robbie, the brother of Nova, just became the Starhawk. And they are headed to Earth to destroy it. Issue 3 starts with a Kree vessel, and it's under attack, and it is taking a whooping from 2 Badoon vessels. Now, it's blasting them, shields are failing, and then suddenly the attacking ships just vanish. The commander here just takes the shot, opens the hailing frequency, and basically says, hey, thank you on behalf of the high and glorious Imperial Kree Empire, and he gets a response, and it's from the Starhawk. And his response is basically, Badoons, is that what they were? And it confuses the commander. He's like, well, why did you destroy them if they're not your enemies? And he's like, well, I thought your ship was cooler. And that's the only explanation he really gives, and then he's gone. And with that, you get this huge picture of him in his Starhawk form, Phoenix-esque, just this powerful, mighty being looming over this huge starship. So this is where it gets a little nuts, because Chris Powell's out, but he's in his Darkhawk form. He just had his chest punched through, but he's still alive. He's got the green stuff oozing out of him because he's in the Darkhawk form. He's not in his human form. Therefore, he's basically a mechanical organism at this time. And then he's crawling forward. He knows he has to go because the Starhawk is heading to Earth, and he looks up, and this dude is standing in front of him. Now, I don't know, but at that point, I just assume it's death. You know, I'm like, hey, if I'm Chris Powell, I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. That's it. I wish I could have done more, but I'm either going to have to fight death, or that's it. This ain't good. Fortunately for Chris, this is not death. It's actually Razor, which is the being, the Darkhawk himself, the suit is Razor, and it's this traumatic event has basically triggered some kind of consciousness that he's able to talk and they're able to communicate. And in doing so, Razor reveals that, look, I didn't give you everything. I gave you the body, but now I'm going to give you the mind. And he explains to Darkhawk that you are capable of so much more because the Raptors are stuck to the data song. And what that means is they only have so many configurations that they can change into different forms. However, as Darkhawk and being separated from the data song, when he cut himself off from that, basically Chris Powell's imagination can change him into whatever he wants to transform into in this being. There's also a few pages in here about the origin of the Raptors and the way they came to be, and it's pretty interesting. It has to do with the cosmic entities, but I'm going to skip over because it really doesn't tie to the rest of the storyline. From there, we jump over to the Raptors, and it's actually a conversation, which are actually explaining why they're going to destroy Earth, and that's because, according to the data song, humanity is the single greatest threat to the whole Raptor fraternity and their ability to impose, complete domination over the universe. So they're a couple hours from Earth, and suddenly they're getting some, hey, there's heavily armored something or another coming up from the rear. What are we going to do? And like, man, ain't nothing catching us. And then suddenly they realize, I mean, that's too large to be a Raptor. That's Chris Powell. And they thought he was dead, and guess what? He is back. And you know how I said he can use his imagination to turn into whatever he wanted to. He comes up looking like this awesome Gundam. He just looks awesome, and they are going to have a fight on their hands. So we'll get on to Infinity Countdown Darkhawk number 4. And Infinity Countdown Darkhawk number 4 starts with Nova. Nova's getting summoned by Nova Corps, but he answers the phone, but he lost signal, you know what I mean? He's like, I can't hear you, you're breaking up. And he's got things to do. He's wanting to go find his brother Robbie, of course. And he just so happens to fly by right as our boy Chris Powell, Darkhawk, goes and just rips the Raptor's ship in half. Just decimates it in his giant Gundam form. And it's on. The fight is on from there. And to be very clear, he ain't holding anything back. He is going off on these dudes. He knows he's not messing with those suburban gangsters like I talked about before. He is messing with the actual Raptors. And he is letting it loose with both barrels and giving it to them up until the point where he gets grabbed by the head by the Starhawk and just getting thrown around by Robbie. And it's at that point that Nova flies in, hearing the dialogue, trying to figure out what is going on. And he grabs the Dark Starhawk and tells him, look, start talking. But when he grabs him, it pulls him out of that form, and suddenly he can see his brother Robbie kind of behind the mask, if you will. Now, Starhawk recovers pretty quickly, turns around, blasts Nova, tells him, don't call me Robbie! And Darkhawk in his Gundam form catches him. Now, he's trying to do Nova solid here and get him out of the fight because there's a lot going on. And he puts him inside a compartment within his chest. And he's in there with my boy Deathhead, who starts talking to him. And it's pretty funny. He also gets a rundown from Razor, basically saying, hey, look, if it wasn't for my boy, Earth would be a bunch of ash right now, and it'd be your brother's fault. So why don't you back off a little bit? But Nova can't do that. He has to say, I'm getting back in this fight. And he just rips out of Darkhawk's chest. Totally decimates his form. He can't really hold it together, so he has to change forms back to his standard variant, and they're right back in the fight. And they're the Raptors are everywhere. Geyer finally grabs up Darkhawk, runs him through with his claws, and blasts Nova as well. And the fight is just going the wrong way for the good guys. And from here, this battle turns straight into a WWE match. It is. Chris Powell hits him with a blast, knocks him back. He's staggering. Nova jumps in, starts punching, and Darkhawk's telling him, get out of the way. And he's got this energy built up, and he blasts. And it's like with the steel chair when they go to hit him. He's got him held, but got his arm held behind his back. And then the guy that he's trying to hit ducks, and he hits his teammate over the head. And he falls out, and he ends up getting the pin. That's basically what happens here. He ends up blasting Nova big time. The only thing that saves them is suddenly Starhawk turns heel on his teammate and blows away the old leader of the of the Raptors. It's crazy. And after the crowd stops cheering and people are finally figuring out what's going on, you get Starhawk telling you, he's like, look, basically this cosmic awareness I have, I see what the universe needs, and what it needs is this correction. It's just that these Raptors and Geyer are not the ones to do it. And he spares Earth temporarily, and Richard Rider's still trying to talk to him. Nova's still trying to, hey, come on, man, you're still my brother. And he's like, look, I'm not. And he actually starts talking about a galaxy at peace where rogue elements like the Infinity Stones are no longer. And then he's interrupted by my boy, Deathhead. And he said, hey, by the way, I stopped by engineering. And if you take one of these Kree warp cores and modify it slightly, guess what? It makes a really big bomb. And he flies it right into the middle of the Raptors, right as Nova throws his shields up. And that attack disables the Starhawk just long enough for Darkhawk to go and rip the amulet out of Robbie's chest as he's disabled. And basically, you got to remember, his soul is in that amulet that was used to create Robbie. Or I should say, to create Starhawk. But when he rips it out, Robbie just kind of disappears. And all we get is he is gone. And that's really it. And basically Nova and Darkhawk sit there talking, and Nova lets him know, hey, don't show your face in this part of town again, or I will rip your face off. And then Chris gets back home, meets up with his old lady, and then he falls asleep that night, and he has a dream. And you see that tree that we've seen throughout Infinity Countdown, and then you get a character from the way back, and that's Sleepwalker. And that's the end of Infinity Countdown Darkhawk number 4. And this was a fun book. It had a lot of dialogue in places, but it really helped to catch up the reader on the backstory of Darkhawk, the Raptors. And overall, it was a really, really fun storyline. The action in it is intense. And I mean, it goes from, hey, you think this hero is going to stroll in and just whoop up on some nobodies, and he gets rocked. And his recovery, how he overcomes it, how his potential is unlocked through that by his mind and body being converted to the Darkhawk, where he can now use his imagination to do these different configurations and variants of his forms. And it's a good book. I'm excited to see where Darkhawk goes after this and how he is going to play into the events of Infinity Wars when it starts. Overall, I like the book. I recommend you going and picking it up. Go start checking the bins. It's going to be out there soon. And stop by your local comic shop. Pick you up some. $3.99, $4.99. Get you a good book. And leave your comments below. Hey, leave your comments, definitely. Want to start having some discussions, especially on my theory pages, guys. That's it, though. Hey, I appreciate it. Click subscribe. Join the Comic Stacks channel. Hit the bell for notifications. And leave a like, guys. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate you listening. Real Comic Stacks. Out.